The next morning, everyone was walking on eggshells. No one dared mention the breakdown, not openly. The studio buzzed with quiet tension. Assistants rushed around. The director pretended nothing had happened, and the producers were reviewing scenes from yesterday like nothing was out of the ordinary. But behind the scenes, whispers passed from trailer to trailer. She walked off. Keanu followed her. Is the movie in trouble? Yana stayed in her trailer that morning. Blinds were pulled halfway. She held a warm mug of tea between both hands, but her fingers wouldn't stop shaking. It wasn't just about what happened yesterday. It was the weight of everything she had. It's been carrying for months. Fame, expectations, constant performance. Her phone buzzed with missed calls from her mother, her agent, and 3 unread messages. From her father's nurse. She didn't want to open them. She was afraid of what she might see then. There was a soft knock at the door. She didn't answer right away, but the voice on the other side made her look up. Hey, it's me. Double quotes Keanu. Anna hesitated for a second, then stood up and opened the door. He was standing there with 2 breakfast wraps and a simple, brown paper bag of muffins. I figured you probably didn't eat, he said, holding one wrap out too. She blinked, surprised. You didn't have to, I know, he said gently. That's why I did. She took the wrap, suddenly aware of how hungry she actually was. They sat on the small sofa in her trailer, not speaking for a while. The silence wasn't awkward. It felt ... comforting. Finally, Anna asked, Do you think they're mad at me? Keanu looked over at her. If they are, they don't matter. She smiled weakly. You always say the perfect thing. No, he said with a small shrug. I say what I wish someone had said to me. Anna stared at her tea. I can do this much longer. He waited. I don't mean acting. I love acting. It's just the pretending, smiling on command, hiding everything. I'm tired. Keanu nodded. That's why you need people around you who don't expect the performance. Anna leaned back, letting out a breath. Do you ever feel like no one really knows you? He didn't answer right away. Every day, he said finally. That's the hardest part. It's being seen by millions, but not recognized by anyone. Anna met his eyes. But you saw me yesterday. He looked down. You let me. Outside, they could hear the crew setting up. Someone knocked lightly to let her know she was needed for wardrobe in 20 minutes. Anna sighed and stood up. I should go. Keanu stood too, but didn't move toward the door. Instead, he said, Listen. If you ever need space, real space, I have a place in Joshua Tree. Quiet, peaceful, no paparazzi. If you ever need to disappear for a bit, it's yours. Blinked. You're offering me your home? He nodded. It's not about the house. It's about the silence. Sometimes silence is the only way to hear yourself again. She didn't know what to say, thank you, she whispered. He smiled again, and this time it reached his eyes. Go knock them dead. Remember, you don't owe anyone a smile. On set, the atmosphere had shifted. The director was kinder, or at least quieter. People stopped staring. Maybe it was Keanu's presence beside her, or maybe it was the quiet respect he commanded. They were filming a scene in a hospital room. Anna's character had just lost someone. The script called for her to sit alone and fold the last piece of the deceased's clothing in old scarf and say one line, I'm still here. Anna stepped into the scene, heart pounding. They called action. She sat on the hospital bed, picked up the scarf. Her fingers traced the fabric like it held memory, and, without even trying, the tears came. But this time, she didn't break. She let them fall. And when she said the line, her voice cracked not out of weakness, but out of truth. When they called cut, the entire room was silent. Then quietly, one of the sound techs whispered, Wow. The director stepped forward, humbled. That was perfect. Anna gave a small nod and looked toward the back where Keanu stood watching. He gave her a slow thumbs dash up. Later, when they were walking back to their trailers, Anna asked him, Did you think I could do it? Keanu looked at her. I never had a doubt. Not about your talent, but I'm proud that you didn't run from your truth. Anna was quiet for a second. Then she said something that even surprised herself. Can I take you up on that offer? He paused. Joshua Tree. She nodded. I think I need silence. Keanu gave her the address without hesitation. There's a hammock in the back, he said. It sees the stars every night. Anna smiled for the first time in days. That night she packed a small bag. No makeup, no heels. It's just a book, a hoodie, and her phone turned off. And while the world kept spinning around film deadlines and headlines, Anna disappeared into silence. And Keanu let her go with no questions, no conditions. Because real kindness doesn't demand attention. It just shows up, ... and leaves the door open. The cameras were still rolling when Ana de Armas froze. Her lips trembled. Her eyes glassed over. The director didn't notice. Neither did the crew. Everyone was too focused on getting the scene right, but something had broken inside Anna. No one saw it. No one except Keanu Reeves. It started like a normal day on set. A high-profile emotional scene for their new drama film. Anna had been preparing all night. She hadn't slept. She'd read the script again and again, trying to feel the character's pain, trying to make it real. But today, the pain wasn't just acting. She had just gotten a message that morning. Her father's condition had worsened. He was overseas, sick, and alone. She hadn't told anyone, not even her team. She didn't want to seem unprofessional. She'd always pushed through things, always been the strong one. But that morning, something in her felt too heavy. The scene required her to cry in silence, then whisper a line about loss. Single take, one camera, close up. Pressure was high. She started the scene. Walked toward the window, paused. But the words didn't come. Her breathing grew shaky. She tried to hold it in. She tried to act. But real tears formed in her eyes, not from the script, not from the character, from her. A few seconds passed before she turned and walked off set. Not a word, just walked, head low, shoulders shaking. The silence she left behind was louder than any dialogue. The assistant director called out, confused. Anna? She didn't stop. Everyone turned to look at each other. Whispers began. Someone muttered, "Diva behavior." Another said, "We don't have time for this." But Keanu stood still. His eyes didn't leave the door she disappeared through, and then without saying a word he followed her. No cameras, no entourage, just Keanu. He found her outside behind the soundstage, sitting on a crate near the back wall, hugging her knees. Mascara streaked down her face. She didn't hear him approach. He sat beside her without asking. No words, just quiet presence. Anna wiped her eyes quickly. Sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to mess up the scene. Keanu looked ahead, his voice calm. You didn't mess anything up. They probably think I'm difficult now. I don't care what they think. She glanced at him, surprised by his tone. Keanu continued, You're allowed to feel. This isn't a factory. It's not about being perfect. It hurts. It hurts. Anna bit her lip. The pressure that had been building inside her, expectations, grief, fear started to leak out. My dad's in the hospital again. He's not doing well. And I'm here pretending like everything's fine. She finally said it out loud, and her voice cracked with the weight of it. Keanu nodded slowly. You don't have to pretend with me. A tear rolled down her cheek, and this time she didn't wipe it away. They sat there in silence. The sun was starting to dip behind the studio buildings, casting long shadows across the lot. You know, Keanu said after a while, when my sister was sick, I used to show up to set like a robot, memorize my lines, hit my marks, kept my head down, but it ate me up inside. Anna turned to him. I wish someone had told me it was okay to stop, he said, so I'm telling you now. It's okay to stop. Those words, simple, but they reached her heart. Her voice broke again. I just didn't want anyone to think I'm weak. Keanu shook his head gently. Crying doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're real. A pause. The wind rustled gently through the trees behind the lot. A bird landed on the studio fence, chirping once, then flew off. Anna looked down at her hands. Thank you for coming out here. Keanu smiled. Not the smile for interviews or cameras. A soft, human smile. You don't have to go back in yet, he said. Take your time. I'll cover for you. And he meant it. That was the moment something changed between them. Not professionally. not romantically, but something deeply human. He saw her, not the actress, not the star, but the woman behind it all. She saw him too. As Keanu stood to head back in, Anna reached out and grabbed his wrist. "Can you just stay a bit longer?" He sat back down beside her, no questions asked, and they stayed there, in the quiet, away from cameras, away from judgment. It's just two people who understood pain. It would be another hour before anyone saw them return to set. But when they did, something in Anna's face had softened, and something in Keanu's had deepened. In that scene they shot later that evening, it was the most honest performance of Anna's career, and not a single person watching would ever know what it cost her to make it real. The morning after the premiere, Anna woke up without an alarm. No interviews, no fittings, no meetings. Just sunlight spilling through her window and the soft hum of the city in the distance. Her phone had exploded overnight, messages from producers, friends, journalists, even strangers. Articles were everywhere. Ana de Armas delivers the most raw performance of her career. Keanu and Anna redefined grace and resilience on the red carpet. Audiences left in tears by the film. Man, the truth behind it. But Anna didn't rush to reply. She placed her phone face down, stepped out onto her small balcony, and stood barefoot on the cool concrete, sipping her tea. The sky was still orange with morning, and she breathed in the stillness. For once, she wasn't running toward anything, and nothing inside her was running away either. By afternoon, you got a knock on her door. She opened it to find Keanu standing there holding a small brown envelope. "You left this," he said. Anna tilted her head. "Left what?" He handed her the envelope. Inside was a photo, a printed still frame from the film. It was that hospital scene, her holding the scarf, eyes filled with silent grief. Only this time, it wasn't just the image. There were words written across the bottom in Keanu's handwriting. "You were never acting. You were finally seen." Anna pressed her hand to her mouth. She didn't speak. Her throat was tight. Keanu smiled gently and shrugged. "I thought maybe it might be worth framing." "It's more than that," she said softly. "It's proof." "Proof of what?" "That I didn't disappear. I changed, and they saw me anyway." Keanu nodded. "I think they saw you because you changed." They sat in her kitchen that afternoon. No plans, no schedule. Just 2 mugs of coffee, sunlight on the counter, and the comfort of quiet presence. After a pause, Anna looked up. "Can I ask you something?" "Anything." "Why did you come after me that day, when I walked off set?" Keanu thought for a moment before answering. "Because I know what it feels like, to walk away hoping someone will follow and know. One does." His voice was soft, honest. It wasn't about sympathy. It was about memory. Anna reached across the table, resting her hand on his for a second. "I'm really glad you did." A few days later, Anna received an invitation to speak at a private industry event. It wasn't a fancy gala. It was a quiet roundtable with actors, writers, and young filmmakers. The topic was authenticity in performance and personal healing. She wasn't sure she wanted to go, not because she didn't care, but because she didn't want to speak from a stage. She wanted to speak from truth. She called Keanu that night. "Should I do it?" His voice was warm on the other end. "Only if you bring the real you, not the polished version." Anna stared out her window. "That's the only version I have now." "Then they'll be lucky to hear her." The event was small. Be 30 people in a quiet studio space with warm lighting and folding chairs. No red carpet, no cameras. Just stories. When it was Anna's turn, she stood slowly, holding a small piece of paper in her hand, but halfway to the mic. She folded the paper and tucked it into her pocket. She spoke from her heart instead. "A few months ago, I thought breaking down meant I had failed," she began. "I thought crying on set made me unprofessional. Thought silence meant weakness. Everyone leaned in. But someone reminded me that silence can be sacred, and that walking away isn't weakness. It's courage." She paused. Her voice didn't tremble. "I think we spend so much of our time trying to be seen, but we forget. It's okay to see ourselves first. And it's okay to rest, to stop, to ask for help. even in this industry. A young woman in the front wiped her eyes. Anna's gaze swept the room. I found peace when someone chose to sit with me in the silence instead of trying to fix me. And now, I want to be that person for someone else. She smiled gently. Maybe that's all healing, is passing the silence forward. The room broke into soft applause, not because she performed well, but because she had spoken the kind of truth people carry for years without saying aloud. Afterward, people came up quietly, one by one, sharing their stories, their fears, their tiredness. And she listened, not like a celebrity, it's like a human being. She didn't take pictures that night, but she took home a piece of every voice she heard later. She and Keanu met at a quiet diner just outside the city. They ordered pancakes and tea. No fans recognized them more. Maybe they did, but chose not to bother them. Anna leaned back in her seat. "You were right," she said. "That night in Joshua Tree, it did break me open, but in the best way." Keanu smiled. "Sometimes silence is the only scalpel gentle enough to heal." She chuckled. "That sounds like poetry." "Nah," he said. "Experience." They sat in silence again, but it wasn't empty. It was full of everything they didn't need to explain anymore. Then Anna looked up and asked, "Keanu, has anyone ever done for you what you did for me?" He hesitated, then slowly nodded, double quotes once. "A long time ago. A teacher. He told me it was okay to feel broken. We're not here to perform strength. We're here to live honestly." "What happened to him?" Keanu looked away, his voice lower now. "He passed before I could say thank you." Anna reached out again, squeezing his hand. Then maybe she said, "This is your thank you, passed on to someone else." His eyes shimmered for a moment. Then he nodded. "Maybe it is." They clinked their mugs gently, and in that small booth, two people carried the weight of silence together and made it lighter for the world. The premiere was just 2 weeks away. Every billboard in Los Angeles had their faces on Aitana de Armas, graceful and poised, and Keanu Reeves, steady and still. The film was already being called a masterpiece of emotion. Early reviews were glowing. Talk shows requested interviews. Fans made edits of the scenes leaked in trailers. But behind the glamour, something deeper was happening. Anna was no longer the same woman who had walked off set crying, and the world was starting to feel it. She sat in the makeup chair, flipping through an old notebook she used to write in during her first auditions. It was filled with dreams, hopes, quotes she'd scribbled from old poetry books. One line caught her eye. "You will be too much for some. Those aren't your people." She smiled faintly. Her makeup artist Lena watched her through the mirror. "You okay, Anna?" she asked gently. Anna looked up. "Yeah, actually, I think I am." Lena leaned in, brushing her cheeks lightly. "Something changed in you lately. I don't know what it is, but it's beautiful." Anna blinked back the sudden warmth in her chest. She wanted to say Keanu changed something, but it wasn't just him. It was the way he gave her space. How he never tried to fix her pain, just stood beside her in it. How he made her feel safe enough to break in to rebuild. The studio hosted a big interview panel. Lights, cameras, media everywhere. Anna arrived, with Keanu by her side. Their chemistry was calm, but unshakable. Not romantic. Not scripted, just real. They sat on stage beside the director, answering questions about their roles. The depth of the story. How they prepared for emotionally intense scenes. One journalist asked, "Anna, there's a lot of talk about the emotional authenticity in your performance. It feels deeply personal. Was it hard to access those emotions?" There was a time when she would have dodged the question, made a joke, smiled through it. But not today. She looked out at the audience, then slowly at Keanu. Beside her, yes, she said. "It was hard, but not because I had to act, because I stopped acting." The room went silent. Anna continued, voice steady but soft. "I spent years trying to be perfect, trying to hide when I wasn't okay. But this time, something broke. Open, I had to face my real feelings. Yet the pain, the fear, the grief. And once I did that, the character didn't feel far from me. She was me. The host leaned forward. Was there someone who helped you get through that process? Anna smiled again, her eyes drifting to Keanu. Double quotes. Yeah. Someone who reminded me that silence is allowed. That you don't have to explain everything to be understood. Keanu didn't speak. He just nodded once. The audience clapped. It wasn't loud. It was soft and full of respect. Something had shifted after the panel. They walked through the back hallway toward the exit. Anna paused. I want to show you something, she said. They walked to her car and she reached into the glove box, pulling out a folded napkin. It was the sketch she had made in Joshua Tree. The tree, the woman, the bird. I kept it, she said, because that was the first moment I didn't feel like I had to prove anything. Keanu studied the drawing. He didn't critique it, didn't compliment it like a fan. He just said, that's your freedom. Anna looked down at it. Double quotes, I think it's time I give it to you, she whispered, because you gave me mine. Placed the napkin in his hand. Keanu stared at it for a moment, then carefully folded it again. I'll keep it safe, he said. The premiere night arrived with all its usual noise. Red carpet, reporters, camera flashes, dresses and tuxedos. The smell of hairspray and nerves. Anna wore a simple gown. No diamonds, no elaborate design. Just something soft, something real. As she stepped out of the car, the crowd roared her name. But something unusual happened. A fan shouted, You saved me, Anna. Another held up a sign. Thank you for being real. She froze, stunned, then turned slowly, realizing people weren't clapping for her beauty this time. They were clapping for her truth. Keanu stepped out behind her. The reporter started yelling his name. But before he moved forward, he looked at the crowd and raised his hand gently. Then he pointed back to Anna. The cameras turned to her again. And the clapping got louder. Keanu leaned in quietly and said, They need to see you tonight. Not the version you used to give them, the real one. Anna's eyes shimmered, so she stepped forward, alone, hands relaxed, heart open, and she smiled not because she had to, but because for the first time was hers. Inside the theater, as the film played, Anna sat beside Keanu in the dark. Her hands clenched once or twice, hearing herself cry on screen. Watching scenes that had come from her. Real pain, but each time Keanu gently nudged her foot with his under the seat, not as a distraction. As an anchor by the end, the audience was in tears. As the credits rolled, no one spoke. Just a standing ovation. Not the fast, noisy kind, the slow, emotional kind. Yeah, the kind that grows from the heart. When the lights came on, Anna stayed seated. Keanu stayed too. You okay? He asked quietly. She nodded. I think that's the first time I've seen myself. Not the actress. Just me. Keanu looked at her, eyes warm. That's all the world ever wanted. She whispered, And you? I never wanted anything, he said, except for you to feel safe enough to be that. They stood together, no rush to leave. That night wasn't about the movie. It was about a woman reclaiming her voice, and the man who stood beside her without needing to speak. The road to Joshua Tree was long and quiet. No signs of Hollywood, no makeup vans, no clicking cameras or people pretending to be fine. Just long stretches of desert, open skies, and the kind of silence that made Anna feel something she hadn't felt in months. Safe. Her phone was off. She didn't tell her agent where she was going, not even her mother. She just needed to breathe, to be away from the noise. From the people who only called when they needed something, Keanu had texted her the gate code. He didn't ask when she would arrive. He didn't say, let me know when you get there. He just trusted her to find peace in her own time. When Anna arrived, the sun was starting to set. Sky was a swirl of orange and pink, stretched over the desert like a warm blanket. The house itself was small stone walls, wooden beams, and big glass windows that opened into the endless horizon. There was no one there, just a note on the counter. The hammock's waiting. Fridge is stocked. There's no Wi-Fi on purpose. You don't need it. Keanu smiled softly. For the first time in a long while, She didn't feel watched. She didn't feel like she had to perform. The house didn't care if she wore makeup. The trees didn't care if she cried. That night, she sat in the hammock Keanu had mentioned, wrapped in a thick blanket, looking up at the stars. They were everywhere, scattered across the sky like tiny lanterns, and for once, she didn't feel like she had to shine. She could just exist. The next morning, she woke up late. Her body used to call sheets and cold sets, now melted into the warmth of sunlight coming through the window. She made tea, walked barefoot outside, and just listened. Birds, wind, silence, and 4 hours, she did nothing. It felt like healing. But healing doesn't come without pain. By the 3rd day, the stillness brought things she had buried deep. Thoughts she had ignored, feelings she had pushed aside to stay strong for everyone else. She found herself sitting on the floor of the little living room, hugging her knees, tears falling without warning. Memories of her father, his voiceover, the phone, the way he always asked if she was sleeping enough, if she was eating, if she was happy. She hadn't answered those questions honestly in a long time. Her tears turned into sobs. Deep, quiet sobs that made her shoulders shake. And she let them come. She didn't hold them in this time. No cameras, no crew, just her. She cried for the girl who had always tried to be enough, for the woman who had carried too much for too long, and then, after the tears, came silence again. But it felt softer. Now, like it had room for her, on the 4th day, Keanu texted her. Just one message. You don't need to reply. Just wanted to check if the stars are being kind. Anna stared at the message for a long time. Then she replied, They are. Thank you for this. Keanu didn't answer. And that felt perfect. She spent that evening sketching on a napkin with a pen she found in the drawer. A tree. A woman under it. A bird flying away. She wasn't an artist, but something about letting her hands move without pressure felt freeing. The next morning, she decided to record a voice memo. Not for anyone else, just for herself. Her voice shook a little as she spoke. Day 5. It's quiet here. It's the kind of quiet that listens. I've been thinking about why I always push myself, why I never stop. Maybe I thought that if I slowed down, people would forget me. But maybe being forgotten isn't the worst thing. Maybe being unseen while you're still surrounded is worse. She paused, breathing in. I think Keanu knew this place would break me open, and he let it happen, without stepping in to fix it. That's rare and kind. She ended the recording. No edits. No edits. On the 7th day, she packed her things slowly. Not because she was rushing, but because she was ready as she locked the door behind her. She looked back at the house. It had given her something no movie set ever could. Permission. Permission to not be perfect. To fall apart. And to heal without explanation. She left a note on the table where it had been. Thank you for letting me disappear. The silence saved me. And when she returned to Los Angeles, she didn't call anyone. She went straight to Keanu's place. He opened the door like he'd been expecting her. She didn't say much, just hugged him tightly, and he hugged her back. Questions asked. When she pulled away, she smiled. Not the smile she gave to fans. Not the smile she wore on red carpets. This one was real, soft, alive. I'm ready, she said. Keanu nodded. Good, because the next scene is the hardest one. She laughed a little. What's it about letting go? The next week? On set, people noticed something different about Anna. Her energy was still gentle, but grounded. Her presence stronger. Not louder, just more centered. She didn't hide behind makeup anymore. Didn't force conversation. But when she spoke, people listened. And when the scene came an emotional goodbye Anna didn't act, she lived it. Everyone watching felt it. And the director whispered to Keanu after the take, I don't know what you said to her. Oh, but she's never been better. Keanu looked toward Anna, who stood quietly near the edge of the set, sunlight in her hair. He didn't say anything, because real kindness never asks for credit. It just changes things quietly and lets the healing speak for itself. 6 months later, the world had changed, but more importantly, so had Anna. The film had become a global success. Awards followed. Praise poured in. People called it haunting, healing, a mirror to the soul. But what most didn't realize was that it wasn't just acting, it was real. Anna stood backstage at the International Film Summit in Berlin, about to receive the award for Best Lead Performance. The room was full of directors, actors, critics, and fans. Flashes from photographers flickered like lightning behind the curtain. Her stylist fixed the strap on her simple black dress. "You ready?" she asked. Anna looked at herself in the mirror, not to check the makeup, not to fix her posture. Was searching for something else, and she found it: a calm, a softness in her own eyes that hadn't been there before. "Yeah," she whispered. "I'm ready." They called her name. The crowd stood, clapping. She walked to the stage. But as she stepped up to the microphone, she didn't hold the trophy up. She didn't bask in the spotlight. Instead, she pulled a folded napkin from her dress pocket. The same one. The sketch from Joshua Tree. The tree. The woman. The bird. She held it up for a moment, then placed it gently on the podium. "I want to share something with you," she began, her voice clear, steady. "Before this role, I thought pain was something to hide, something that made you weak. But I was wrong. It was the moment I stopped hiding that everything changed." People leaned in. "I walked off a set once," she continued. "I was breaking, and someone followed me, not to convince me to come back, not to fix me, just to sit beside me, to let me be seen." Anna paused, eyes sweeping the room. "This award is not for pretending. It's for the moment I stopped pretending." The room was still, and if you're someone who's ever walked away, if you've ever cried behind a door, if you've ever needed silence, this is yours too. Soft applause grew louder, building, full of emotion. Anna looked to the side of the stage, where Keanu stood in the shadows. He didn't wave, didn't smile wide, just stood there quietly, hands clasped, his eyes full of quiet pride. He didn't need to be seen, because he had already done the seeing. After the ceremony, they walked along a quiet street in Berlin, snow falling lightly around them. Anna held her heels in her hands, barefoot on the cold sidewalk, laughing softly. "Do you realize," she said, "that one moment changed everything?" "Which moment? You walking off set too?" Keanu tilted his head. "I didn't think about it. I just couldn't let you break alone." Anna looked up at the night sky. "I think that's what everyone needs. Not someone to fix it. Just someone to not leave." Keanu stopped walking. He turned to her. "You." "No, when my sister was dying," he said quietly, "I sat with her every night, even when she couldn't talk, even when she was too tired to open her eyes. I just sat." Anna watched his face carefully. "One night," he said, "she squeezed my hand, and that was it. No words, just a squeeze." He paused. "It's strange how sometimes the smallest moments carry the most love." Anna nodded. "That's what you gave me." They stood there in the snow, the world quiet around them. Not romantic, not scripted, just soul-deep connection. A year later, Anna started something new. A foundation, the Silent Space, a retreat home in the desert. It's built for artists, actors, musicians, anyone silently breaking under pressure. A place to rest, to breathe, to be unseen, and still feel whole. The first cabin, built right where Keanu's hammock used to hang, and on the wall of that cabin, in a simple wooden frame, hung the napkin sketch. Below it, in small letters, "You don't have to shine to be seen." Anna visited often but never posted about it. Neither did Keanu, but every once in a while, someone who stayed there would leave a note in the guest journal. "I cried here. Thank you, stop. Thank you." His silence reminded me who I am. I walked off stage once, but now I think I'm ready to go back. And beneath the very first page of the journal was a message in Keanu's handwriting. "If you're reading this, you are strong enough to stop. That means you're strong enough to begin again." Years passed, the film remained a classic. The foundation grew. But what remained unchanged, what never aged, was that one sacred thing between them. Presence, the kind that doesn't speak for you, it just sits beside you, like a tree in a storm, like a bird finding. It's the sky again, like a man who walked off set. Because a woman walked away crying. Because kindness doesn't follow cameras. It follows people, and it stays.